Yo, like the thing with the string. It's your boy Chep Woods, and welcome back to Generational Money. Man, I'm excited about this episode. We got somebody who in the financial space on set with us, Daniel Armstrong. Man, thanks for coming out.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for introducing me and giving me the opportunity to speak on your show.
Absolutely. Actually, man, I actually want you to kind of introduce yourself a little bit, kind of tell everybody what it is you specialize in and what it is you do.
So, hello everyone. My name is Daniel Armstrong. Guess I'll take y'all back. I studied finance and marketing at Marquette University. From there, pretty much, I was a pandemic grad, so I was essentially forced into the entrepreneurship realm. I had spent 4 years thinking I was going to go corporate, and start working and take that good job, American dream, right? Didn't work out like that. I had my income pretty much taken from me. So I ain't never want to be in that boat again. So I went down the route figuring out how can I control my own cash flow. I started to take additional courses, do additional research. And the one thing I found out is that, it always comes back to your personal and your business credit when you're looking at truthfully scaling and growing the business.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So when you say your income or job was taken from you, is that to say that you had a gig and lost it, or you just wasn't able to get one due to the pandemic?
No, so I was interning.
Okay.
So pretty much the way the traditional, route goes is, you do your first 3 years or so, just kind of figuring it out, really your first two. But by your junior and senior year, you start interning at corporations to pretty much land that job. So I had an intern with Milwaukee Tool, and
Okay. So did you enjoy it while you was doing it?
uh,
Like, had it not been for the pandemic, you think that you would still be in pursuit of that?
I probably would be a suit, tie, button up. You know what I'm
Right. So that's
saying?
kind of like it was like a blessing for you, kind of like a bittersweet type of.
I would say so. In the beginning, I wouldn't say it was because you're planning for 4 years thinking you just gonna get this salary, everything gonna be great,
Fact.
and then it don't play out like that.
So even when you was going to school for finances, you hadn't had the entrepreneurial mentality. Like you just still was straight corporate minded. Like you didn't like all of what you learning about finances. What were your thoughts on like building your wealth? Cause I mean, with a job, it's kind of like you can only make so much money, right? Like how could you scale?
I would say to answer that question, I think I always kind of had like the entrepreneurship mentality in me. Like, my first job, I would go door to door, going door to door, pretty much getting people to donate to a inner city youth program.
Okay.
And so, I had experience in door to door sales, from being like 8 years old.
Right.
So, I always had the entrepreneur hustle in me to say, but I guess when you go through the programming and you start, actually going through these college institutions, they're pretty much breeding you to be an employee.
Absolutely.
And so while that mentality is in me, what I'm being taught is to provide a service or a good,
Don't
that's
even really apply it to self as much. Like go help others with it.
exactly.
And that's fair because I don't take many pictures of
Exactly.
myself. I just take pictures of other people. So I guess I understand it from that standpoint. So like, what made you want to go into finances? Like, what made you want to major in that?
I guess I would say I had a knack for money. I was also a two-time All-American at Marquette University.
Dope.
That's where my undergrad is. I did track and field. But I pretty much placed 14th in the nation. And so I had spent that whole year pretty much first.
Right.
So when I got to the big stage and I basically placed 14th out of 16th, that was pretty much last to me. So I went back to the coaches and I'm like, okay, if we develop a plan for us to go straight to the top, we go to the Olympics, y'all got me in the gym every day. What does my life really look like? And the commitment of what they told me behind being an actual athlete versus what I get in my life, it really didn't add up to me no more because I actually started to think about it and started thinking about the performance we were putting on, the value that we're paid. I actually started thinking back and thinking, what is the difference between the way our entertainment arenas are designed versus the Roman Colosseums?
Oh, absolutely.
And at that point, if I'm an athlete putting on a show, what does that make me? I'm a puppet. I'm paid what they pay me to entertain the crowds.
And in that space, you kind of be struggling like Noah Lyles, right? You got
You
like
know,
the world champ who complaining about endorsements and complaining about not being paid like a Anthony Edwards,
Mhm.
right? So you'll be essentially like a puppet not even the highest paid puppet.
Literally,
Right? So
though,
it's
you're
good
not
you
even the
didn't
highest
even,
paid
you know what I
puppet.
mean?
And so at the end of the day, they told me, when you stop competing, when you stop being an athlete, you'll have to rely on your degree. And so then I went back and I looked it up, went straight back to the business school. Which major pays the most money? Finance.
Smart man. Hey, right. Luckily, you was cut out for it because I would say not everybody really is. I think everybody can be financially literate,
Mm-hmm.
but um, it could be tedious, it could be long, it could be boring. You really got to be passionate to really like. I feel take it to the next level, and especially like major in it for 4 years or whatever. So
And it's like finance is a broad spectrum, right? And so when you talk about like your financial advisor, he has to know a little bit of everything in order to truthfully give you a holistic plan. If you don't, you'll be weighted on one side and neglecting something else that actually might be worth your attention. So you want to be knowledgeable in all of the small
well around
spaces
it, yeah,
in finance.
absolutely. But you kind of like really specialize in credit.
I would say so.
Okay,
So pretty much I put my foundation in credit because your personal credit and your business credit is what allow you to access capital from banks.
okay. Well, I know what people, a lot of people don't really understand credit,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of people, when we dealing with financial literacy, it just to me it's simply just due to ignorance. We know the schools not educating us from an early age about finances. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, what mindset shifts do you think people need to make to start like really getting into finances to become more financially literate?
I think the first step would be understanding that there's different habits that different cultures and different communities practice. And one of the biggest things that I've seen is the wealthy, they have books. Poor people have TVs.
Mm.
And so that's something that I would think we should start off as our foundation, because if we develop the habits of reading more and educating ourselves more, then these type of conversations become a little bit more normalized.
That's tough. That's tough. So, what are some books you could recommend to the audience?
The first one I always start off with is Think and Grow Rich.
Thinking Grow
That is
Rich.
always a great one to help, shift your mentality and understanding, like there's foundations in place and there's systems in place to keep you thinking how you think that will keep you trapped.
Absolutely.
And so I think Think and Grow Rich is a good one to always start off and breaking that mentality. The next one I like is Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Okay.
Robert Kiyosaki, he's
Absolutely.
very good at, understanding, taking you from A and getting you to understand, how true wealth is generated.
Absolutely.
So he has a 4-quadrant model that truthfully helps educate on being an employee, a small business owner, an investor, and it's one more I'm missing. Business owner. There you go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
just
I
understanding
give
that
book
shift.
to all of the kids in my life, like I don't get them toys; they get that book as
Mhm.
a birthday present. I'm got to figure out some more stuff to do, but I don't want to get the kids toys. I want to give them tools.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. For me, what if I had just a little bit more money this year? What I wanted to do is just, don't ask me for a Christmas gift. If I give y'all LLCs, start your business idea. I help you write a business plan, but I'll gift you an LLC.
I think helping them with a business plan is even tougher because it's like that's teaching them how to fish opposed to fishing for them. You start an LLC, it could just collect dust. But if
Mhm.
you sit down with them and show them how to come up with a business plan and see how rigid it is, if they actually get through that process, then I'm gonna gift you with the LLC because you're actually gonna do something with it.
Mhm.
But if
You're
I
right.
sit down with you, just give you an LLC, I'm gonna be wasting this $150. You
You're
know what
right.
I'm saying? Like, so me personally, that business plan idea, because I remember I was in college and I had an assignment to do a business plan, and at minimum it had to be like 25 pages. Man, I was pissed. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I said, you got to be cut out for certain things. Like at the age I was at, where I was at in my life, like I wasn't on that 25 pages.
Right.
Like, so granted, I got through it, but I gotta remember what that assignment
But see,
was. But
even in that same sense, though, today people just got to understand that we're in a different era now. Because for you, while you that 25-page business plan, how long did it take you to write that?
man, I remember the assignment was like a final, so I probably worked on it throughout the semester. I can't really give you like an exact
2
time.
months.
But like, yeah, like I mean, on and off, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, throughout the semester. So actual working hours, probably about a couple weeks to a month's time. And I mean, wish it would have had some help. So like you helping the shorties of your life would be
Mhm.
definitely dope. You know what I
But
mean?
see, what I was going though is that today we can do something like Chat GPT.
Absolutely.
Write me a business plan that's 25 pages that gives a cash flow analysis of a business that's gonna have a net profit of $20,000 a month.
Mm.
And then the algorithm will give you a breakdown exactly how to start that
Hey, y'all
business.
write that prompt down. That was a prompt. That was a prompt right there.
So
Yeah, that's dope, man. Shout out to Chat GPT. That's how I be kind of like coming up with some of my questions. You know what I'm saying? I talk to it, then kind of like tweak it a little bit. I'm really kind of newer to it. I heard it been out for a few years, and I just started using it last year. You know what I mean?
I say I caught on to it about 2022.
Right. Okay.
So
And
yeah.
see, yeah, I didn't even know it was out in 2022. Like, obviously the technology, but like not to consumers. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know it was a thing. So, man, so like, what are some like tips you could get somebody if they trying to like build their credit up, like they new to credit?
They know nothing.
Yeah, you can say they don't really know much. They just know that if you got good credit, you could finance a big screen TV. Like
Oh, okay,
that's
okay.
how
So
they
so
understand
we got
credit.
to break it down
We
then.
gotta, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying, break it down.
Well, the first thing I would do is say, when you got good credit, you don't want to finance a TV. Like, there's a certain difference between a misconception is how we leverage our credit, right?
Absolutely.
And what we use that credit for to buy. The biggest thing that I can say, or the biggest takeaway I can give y'all, if you're purchasing something with your credit that's not going to produce an extra cash flow or not going to allow your dollars to make babies more money, then you shouldn't probably leverage your credit or use your credit to pay for that. One of the ones that, kind of get people is the mortgage and the car note, right? These are two things that, are our biggest expenses as American citizens. And it's what, we're traditionally taught to leverage our credit to purchase. But what we fail to realize is that when we leverage our credit to purchase a single family home, we're kind of trapping ourselves into 30 years of paying the bank extra money. But where's the hack in order, to make this beneficial? I can tell y'all like a play that I ran pretty much in leveraging my credit. So, 2 years ago, I was educating the entire community on all of the stuff that you could do with your credit. And I sat back and I finally looked, I said, wait, how am I going to tell all these people that you can do this, you can do that, and you ain't ran these plays your own self?
Facts.
So I immediately, I got on the phone, I called Navy Federal, and I seen what I could do with Navy Federal. I got approved for like a $42,000 auto loan. So then I was like, okay, if Navy Federal give me $42,000, I wonder what these other banks would do. So then I called educators and they gave me a $48,000 auto loan. So then I looked at that and I said, okay, I got 2 auto loans. I can start me a business here, right? I can use one auto loan to purchase a car that's going to pay for both of these loans. And then with the other one, I'll buy the car I want and I can just drive that. So what I actually did was I bought a Tesla and I bought a Wrangler. But when I bought my Wrangler, I called my guy from college who owned a dealership, and I told him I'm in the market for a Wrangler. The specific reason why I bought a Wrangler is because Wranglers hold value. There's no other cars that really hold the same amount of value that a Wrangler does. So I could pay $50,000 for this Wrangler, and 4 years later, when I come back and sell it, I'm gonna sell it for 40. I'm gonna sell it for 38, and I done just drove it for 4 years. So that's a huge win because if you sell any other car, you're gonna end up upside down. So that was the number one play that I ran with that. But number two, I had a check for 48,000. I told him, look, I only got 42. He said, bet, Dan, I got you. So when I actually bought my Wrangler, he gave me a refund check to purchase that Wrangler. I took that refund check and I used that as a down payment to purchase a duplex. So I purchased a duplex and got a cash flowing asset all off the bank's capital. I never put none of my money into that. Now I make $500 a month off of leveraging my credit the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what was your credit score around that time when you was able to access that capital?
I want to say I was probably like a 710, but after that I dropped to like a 680. But the thing about a credit and all of this, you guys got to understand that it's not necessarily about your credit score. It's about your credit report. It's about the items that are actually reporting onto your credit report that makes that credit score. So when you're dealing with somebody who's actually experienced, we can manipulate a credit score. I can get you a 700 in 30 days. What's more important, though, is making sure that your credit report is built up to actually finance what you're looking to get. So this means no derogatory remarks, less than 2 to 3 inquiries reporting on your credit report. You want to have an average age history over at least 5 years. You want to have about 10 accounts reporting. And if you really trying to make sure you get to the bag, you should have two personal credit cards, at least $2,500 limits on them. And if you don't have that, you can start off with the bank getting a secured credit card where you would put that $2,500 down and they would use that capital as collateral. And then that would then be used to build your credit. But at the end of the day, if you knock out those things that I just told y'all wait 6 months, you'll be able to get $50K from whatever bank you walk into.
So if you do have a bunch of derogatory marks on your credit, and you go talk to a credit guy, credit guru, and they run a play on you and get you up to a 700, what can you do?
Again, it comes down to that credit report. So the first thing you want to do if you're in that boat is remove the derogatory remarks.
And that's definitely possible.
That's possible. You pretty much can remove anything on your credit report.
Okay.
With the Fair Credit Reporting Act, 15 U.S.C. 1681, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, is basically the laws that Congress gave us to help govern the credit bureaus. Right. So 15 U.S.C. 1681A states that all information pretty much reporting on your credit report, it must be accurate information. And so, for example, an easy way I get items removed from credit reports is if I look at my TransUnion account and it say I owe a balance of $100, then I look at Experian and it say I owe 99.99. One of them report inaccurate information. And so that account got to get deleted entirely.
So only one of them will?
One of them will. Okay. And then you'll use the fact that the other bureau deleted the account to get the other one to delete it.
Huh. Well, what a finesse. Yeah, and I've been on YouTube studying finances for the past couple of years. Some kind of, you said earlier about when you went to Navy Federal, like, man, I don't want to be telling people to run these plays when I ain't ran these plays. Mm-hmm. So that's really kind of what motivated me to start this show. Like, I love finances. I didn't study it formally. Mm-hmm. I start kind of like just getting into it on my own as I start getting bills and responsibilities. But I ain't really had a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I actually filed a bankruptcy in 2018. So I haven't really had the opportunity to go out there and play around to see what type of plays I can run. I talked to my mentor and he, we talk about like taxes and credit and different business strategies. And I live vicariously through, I guess, watching stuff online. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to start a channel where I just kind of did financial literacy, talk finances, gave strategies. But I ain't really feel comfortable because, like I say, I ain't got the experience that I want. So I said, I'm going to just start a show where I talk to people who got the experience, learn some stuff. Or if not, probably even educate somebody on something I learned over the years. Mm-hmm. But just talking to different entrepreneurs about, even if you're not in the financial space, like you deal with finances running your business. So let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how the show came about. But I want to ask you, how does like having a strong credit help you be able to pass down generational wealth to the following generation?
Well, I would say if you don't come from money, the next best thing you got is your credit. If you don't already have cash flowing assets, you don't got a rich uncle, rich dad, you don't have money being handed to you, the next best thing you got is your credit, because it takes so much longer for you to save $50,000 than it do for you to go get a $50,000 line of credit.
So what do you do with the $50,000 line of credit in order to be able to set up your children or your children's children with some assets? So your son, nephew, and niece can have a rich uncle.
It depends on the route you want to take and how rich we trying to get. And like, the person who's in that first position, you can't tell everybody that, you can become a business owner. You can't tell everybody that, you can just go invest in this and you're going to get rich. It don't work like that. You have to be real and find what's tailored to that specific family, to that specific individual. But what my best advice would be is to start off with probably real estate. If I had a $50,000, immediate access to line of credit, I would probably go buy me a $500,000 duplex or 4-family or 8 quadrant.
Just bottom line, go buy an asset that'll bring you a return. Don't go buy no
Exactly.
liabilities.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Invest in assets and more assets
And more.
and compound
Exactly.
and more assets.
Because what it end up happening, if you had access to that $50,000 line of credit, you can use that to buy a $500,000 property, right? 10% down of a $500,000 is 50,000. So now we know we can go search for a $500,000 multifamily property. I'm looking for 6 to 10 units.
Right.
And my game plan is to have at least 3 of them pay off that whole mortgage. And then if I can have 3 of them pay off mortgage, the other 3 will be cash flowing, assets. I'll take that cash flow and use that to leverage another property. And we'll just keep going with this. 2 years later, I'll refinance that first property, pull some more money out and go buy another one and just keep doing this over and over and over. And then I'll put all of the properties into the trust name.
And into the trust name. Okay.
And that's how you would pass it off to the next generations to loop back around and answer your question.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something about a single family home being tied up for 30 years. Like I've been seeing kind of like an argument online that a single family home is a liability or it's an asset. My thing is, you get a car, you put it on toll roll, is it an asset now?
Yes.
Right. So if you get a single family home and in 5, 10, 20, however long, it acquires some equity, it's an asset.
Yes.
But it's
not a cash flowing asset.
So that's
not at the time.
Is that what the argument
That's kind of what the argument is.
So it's not really just as an asset, it's a cash flowing asset.
It's because if you get a duplex, you have an extra unit that's bringing in income. So we're going under the premise that you're moving into one of these units when you buy it. So
Absolutely.
if you buy a single family house and you move into it, you still are paying that mortgage. But if you have a duplex, you move into one unit and then you make the tenant pay the mortgage. You're now living for free.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of the difference. But now let's scale that up and do that with 4 units though. Now you got 3 units paying you and you only took 1 unit. That's kind of
I definitely understand that aspect of it, but it's just like,
yeah, you still gonna gain. You're gaining equity, but
you could also lose equity too
as well,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to just talk habits real quick. Like, what are some like bad credit habits that you see out there that you would like for people to improve on? What's some like cringe bad habits you hear and see?
The biggest one, is not paying your bills on time. That is the biggest one. It's probably gonna make everybody mad. Mm-hmm. But if you have that account reporting to your credit report, if you're not paying your bills on time and you get a late payment, you kind of set yourself behind for at least 12 months. Lenders don't like to see late payments reported on your credit report within the last 12 months.
And that's a derogatory remark.
And that's a derogatory remark.
You need to remove.
Depending on who you're working with, but it's possible, not easy. Sometimes the whole account might have to get deleted.
I know certain things are like easier than other things to remove. Like maybe an inquiry might be a little.
That's way easier than a late payment.
It's weighted a lot less than utilization or payment history.
Or a collection account or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I say the first one is late payments. Pay your bills on time. That's number one. And then the other one is cash flowing assets. Don't use your credit to go buy a TV, buy chains. Don't, as soon as you get a credit card, go max it out at Macy's or, buying some designer clothes and Jordans trying to look good.
Yeah, they say only really use your credit card for like if you buy assets or because some of the things that I learned is like I try not to even use my debit card no more because there's a benefit to using my credit card. Mm-hmm. So I only use my credit card on things that I'm investing in for my business or things that I can afford. Mm-hmm. So if I know I'm gonna get some gas, with my cash, I'm gonna use my credit card to pay it off. If I need some new shoes and I'm gonna use my cash to get it, I'm gonna use my credit card to get it and pay it off because it's points and there's a lot of incentive for me to use the credit card.
That last point is different than what a lot of people do though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just
maxing it out.
You just said that you're gonna spend your money on shoes you're gonna buy and you have the cash to buy.
Absolutely.
People will take that credit card and don't have no way of being able to pay that monthly payment.
That minimum.
And then they're not even paying attention to the fact that, okay, if you don't pay off your balance in full in that first month, you get hit with interest.
So now
So
you paying
people don't
extra for
even,
them shoes.
you paying extra for the shoes, and you don't even understand that your 20% interest rate mean you paying an extra $40 on those shoes.
And your utilization shot. So your credit score just got, yeah.
So
It's ugly.
it's a lot of,
Ugly,
small things that
yeah.
people don't understand that goes into that.
Definitely.
And so that's the other one. Make sure you know your interest rates for real, because that's how you truthfully end up in debt. When you don't understand the interest rate that these lenders give you, and then you don't pay that balance back in full, it's a snowballing effect. The compound interest is not working in your favor. It's actually sending you into a huge
something I
debt.
learned from a dude on YouTube, Minority Mindset, Justbrit Singh. Shout out to Justbrit. He said, ain't no use of like really trying to invest in the stock market or the index fund if you got like high credit card debt, because you paying 22% on your credit cards, and you getting maybe 8 to 12% in the stock market, but you still paying 10% interest. You ain't, so like you got to get rid of that credit card debt, get you a nice net savings nest, and then start attacking that interest.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That way,
But see,
the interest working for you,
exactly.
compounding, and you ain't still paying. All you doing is really like offsetting some of your debt interest, which ain't really ideal.
Well, the only comment I have, for what you just said is, skilled people on this side will go after 0% interest credit cards on the business side. So then that credit card is never even reflected on your personal credit report. It's all in the business name, and that balance is never showing up. And then it's 0% interest for at least the first 12 months. So then you can take that credit card and go invest in the stock market. And that negative 10% hit that he was telling you, you paying, you're not dealing with that because you're starting off at a 0% interest rate. So as long as
that balance paid down within that year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's real. So you saying if you get a business credit card, 0 interest, not a personal.
Not a personal, business credit card.
Right, yeah, definitely. I mean, and then
and so
from that standpoint, from what I understand, when you dealing with business credit, I guess we could kind of fall off into business credit a little bit, then we could close out. But when you dealing with business credit, utilization isn't the same as personal credit.
No,
so
not at all.
If you max that thing out and you paying down, as long as you make your payments, it's not gonna hurt you as bad.
Not your personal credit.
So that money sitting in the stock market, still, even though you might pay a percentage on it after the first year, as long as you're getting that balance down, it can be beneficial. I see what you say.
For example, think about it like this. If I have a $50,000 line of credit, right? And I just take 10K, right? I borrowed at 0% interest. And then that 10K is compounded at 10%, a month, right? Or whatever. No, the stock market not gonna do 10% a month. That's my algorithm. My bad. The stock market gonna do 12% in a year. So 10,000 times 12% would be an extra 1,200, right? Well, what would end up happening is you might have to pay a monthly principal payment, which would just be, 1% of whatever you borrow. And so your principal balance needs to be taken down at the end of the year, but every month you're only paying 1% of what you borrow. So you can leave the majority of the money sitting in the stock market to compound as long as you can afford that monthly payment. Or you can take the extra returns from the stock market and pay your monthly payment.
Absolutely. So when you're dealing with business credit, I notice like people always talk about personal guarantors or having to personally guarantee. Is that the case for every small entry level business?
Yeah.
Like
if you're a small entry level business, no cash flow, no assets, you're most likely gonna have to personally guarantee whatever you're looking for. After you've been about 5 years in the game, you got a nice hefty balance sheet, then you can, say, I'm not looking to personally guarantee and walk away from that lender.
Okay, so let's say you have been doing business for maybe 5 years, 6 years, and you've been building up that balance sheet, got a decent cash flow, maybe even been profitable some of the years.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really use business credit.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, can you get credit without a personal guarantee? You still gonna have to. No, like the first business credit you get, you gotta personally guarantee.
Most of the time,
way around that.
Yeah, most of the time when you're first starting off, it's no way around that. But if you have money in the account and you got bank statements, you can have a different conversation.
Absolutely. So like, yeah, I heard like if you got like 50,000, you could take that 50. It was a viral meme a reel going around of 50 Cent saying, If I gave you 100,000 or $1 million and I told you in 30 days you had to double it or I'm taking it back,
I'll just go leverage credit.
yeah, I'm gonna just take it to the bank and get a loan
Mm-hmm.
against it. Like, do that count for somebody with horrible credit? Like, if I got a 450, but then I come up on a $250,000 inheritance, and I put it in a index fund or to a savings account, high yield savings or a account, can I now go to the bank and leverage some of this money to get some more money, even though I got a 450 credit score? Like, is that how that works? I thought you had to still have some credit.
So there's different places you can go to, right? So you might not be able to go to a bank, but you can go to a community development financial institution, or a CDFI as they call. These are basically, they act like banks, but their job is to lend and to, pretty much stimulate the economic communities around them.
Fact.
So their goal is to build the economy that they pretty much looking to serve. And so in that instance, how you can do that is if you got 250,000, well, I would look at that as like, okay, I can get a $2.5 million SBA loan. And so I will go to a CDFI and I'll start me an import and export
you can get
business.
10x what you got.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 50,000.
You can get $500,000.
So I got 50,000 that I want to like.
To get an SBA loan, you have to come with a 10% down payment. So if you want $5 million from them, you got to come with 10%. If you want 100,000, you got to come with 10%.
I didn't know it was like that. I ain't never really looked too deep into that.
So, but that's where the 10x is, though. So you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's a gem. Man, I should have told the audience to take their pen and pad out for this one, shorty. I'm definitely gonna watch this one back with my notepad out. Man, I want to thank you, Mr. Armstrong, for coming out, man. I met this brother at a men's group. It was a powerful thing with a bunch of strong black men. Reached out to him, told him what I was doing, and he was happy to come out. So, man, blessings, bro.
Yes, sir.
I definitely want to kind of talk to you a little bit more, lock in with you. Like I say, I'm passionate about this financial stuff, see what type of services you offer. My credit decent right now as far as the number, but like you said, I got some stuff on there that probably don't need to be on there, like the bankruptcy, and I don't really know. I ain't looked at it intensively, but I know last time I looked at my FICO, I was paying for it, then I stopped, but I think I had like a 690, so I was decent. I was close to a 7, you feel me? So I think actually my Equifax said like a 710 one of the months, but I think I know it dipped down because I didn't hit one of my credit cards. But anyway, man, let people know where they could find you. If you got a website, social medias, and if you got any like upcoming events, projects, products coming out, let the people know.
So y'all can find me on Instagram at Silent Keys to Wealth. Every Thursday, I host a free business funding webinar to show y'all how to get access to $50K in funding without using the Net 30 vendors. So if y'all follow me on Instagram, y'all will be able to find a link to that, or y'all can find access to that at silentwealthmasterclass.net. Register there, get a free ebook, a lot of great resources for y'all.
Preach. Net 30 vendors, that's just like when they give you the product and you got to pay it off in full within 30 days.
Yep. So I'm showing y'all how to access the 50 without that.
Right. Dope. That's the U-line.
All of that. We skipping that.
That's dope. So we skipping the U-lines and the quills. Yeah, we gonna have to definitely tap in on the Thursdays for that. Man, send me the link. I'll drop it in the bio. Y'all could tap in. And shout out to Royalty Productions. We out. Chep.
Thank you. Thank y'all, gentlemen, for having me.